"He's just a useless husband," my wife said in open court. Not angrily, not emotionally, like she was reading a grocery list. I stayed quiet. The judge didn't answer right away. She looked past my wife and stared at her attorney instead. Then she asked a question that changed everything. "Counselor, are you certain you understand who Mr. Mitchell is and what he actually does?" My wife went stiff. Her attorney hesitated. And for the first time that morning, Michelle Mitchell's confidence cracked. "My name is Lucas Mitchell. I'm 48 years old. Been married to Michelle for 28 years. And until 3 weeks before this hearing, nobody had ever suggested that I couldn't handle my own life. Look, the Wayne County Courthouse isn't what you see in movies. Courtroom 3B was just worn benches, fluorescent lights, and that smell every government building has. You know the one. Michelle stood there in her navy blazer and pearl necklace, the one she wore when she wanted to look responsible. I recognized the act because I'd lived with it for decades. Her attorney, Adrian Walsh, had just finished his speech. He painted Michelle as this long-suffering wife who'd carried our family while I sat around doing nothing, said I was withdrawn, passive, couldn't handle money. Then Michelle delivered her big line, "He's just a useless husband. He doesn't understand finances." Never has. She didn't even look at me when she said it. I didn't react because reacting would have played right into her story. See, Michelle always thought my silence meant I was empty upstairs. She confused keeping quiet with being stupid. That mistake was about to cost her everything. Judge Rachel Barnes leaned back in her chair. Mid-60s, silver hair, glasses on her nose. She had that look of someone who'd heard every story and knew when something didn't add up, but she didn't look at me. She looked straight at Adrian. "Counselor, are you confident you understand Mr. Mitchell's professional background?" Adrian blinked. "Yes, Your Honor. He works in operations, risk management." The judge tilted her head. "And you're certain that's the complete picture?" The room went quiet. Michelle turned toward me, and I saw something flicker across her face. Not fear yet, but doubt. I hadn't expected this moment to come so fast. I figured I'd sit through another hour of testimony before anything happened. But Judge Barnes had this habit I remembered from other cases years back. When something smelled fishy, she asked questions immediately. That habit was exactly why I was there. So here's what led up to this mess. 3 weeks earlier, Michelle filed an emergency petition asking the court to make her my financial guardian, not for my mother, for me. She claimed I couldn't recognize when people were taking advantage of me, couldn't manage money, and was basically too emotionally damaged to function. Within 2 days, my bank accounts were frozen. My employer put me on leave. My access to company systems got suspended. They didn't use the word incompetent, but it was hanging there. I didn't fight back publicly, didn't call Michelle names or get family involved. Instead, I did what I always do. I started reading. See, I've spent most of my adult life investigating corporate fraud, not the flashy stuff you see on TV. I review financial systems. I find inconsistencies. I help companies figure out when something's wrong. Sometimes I explain my findings in court, but not often. It's quiet work. Work Michelle always called paper shuffling. When my mother, Dorothy Mitchell, had her stroke 8 months ago, Michelle volunteered to handle everything. Appointments, paperwork, accounts. She said it would help me focus on taking care of Mom. I let her. Dorothy trusted Michelle. Or maybe she just trusted the marriage. Either way, papers got signed when Mom was tired. Accounts got accessed for convenience. Michelle became the contact person for institutions that used to deal directly with my mother. Then Dorothy died. 3 weeks after the funeral, Michelle's petition showed up at my door. Sitting in that courtroom, listening to my wife call me useless. Something clicked. This wasn't Michelle losing it or acting desperate. This was a plan, and the plan required me to be exactly what she said I was. Quiet, clueless, out of touch. What she didn't realize was that quiet never meant I wasn't paying attention. Judge Barnes tapped her pen on the bench. "Mr. Mitchell, you've been silent so far. Is that intentional?" "Yes, Your Honor." "Why?" I looked right at her. "Because this petition is based on assumptions. And assumptions usually fall apart when you introduce facts too early." You could have heard a pin drop. Michelle sucked in a breath. Judge Barnes studied me for a long moment, then nodded. "Very well. Miss Parker, you may proceed when ready." Lauren Parker, my attorney, stood up slowly. Michelle, for the first time since filing that petition, looked worried. The first time Michelle called me useless wasn't in court. It was at our kitchen table years ago on a night that smelled like burned coffee. Our daughter Sarah had just left for college. Our son Oliver was still in high school. The house felt too quiet, like it was waiting for something. Michelle was sorting mail, flipping through envelopes with sharp, irritated movements. She didn't look at me when she spoke. "So what's your plan? For what?" She sighed, loud and dramatic. "For everything, Lucas. Your career, our future. You just drift." I remember nodding. Remember saying nothing. Back then, I thought keeping quiet was mature. I thought silence prevented fights from becoming wars. What I didn't understand was that Michelle could weaponize that silence. Over time, she turned it into proof that I didn't care. Our marriage had always been like two separate train tracks. We shared a house, raised kids, coordinated schedules, but we never really connected on the inside. Michelle loved being seen as competent, admired, indispensable. I liked systems, order, knowing that if something went wrong, I could trace it back to where it started. She handled people, I handled processes, that's how it started anyway. But gradually, Michelle took over anything that needed a signature. She moved our savings without telling me, made herself the primary contact on our insurance, told the kids to ask her about money because Dad doesn't like dealing with that stuff. When I pushed back, she made it sound like I was the problem. "You hate responsibility," she'd say. "I'm helping you." And because I didn't want to fight, I let it slide. The shift with my mother happened quietly, too. Dorothy had always been careful with money. She balanced her checkbook every Sunday morning with coffee, 2 sugars, splash of milk, kept receipts in labeled envelopes. After my dad died, she told me paper is memory, don't lose it. When she started forgetting little things, I noticed before Michelle did. Or maybe Michelle noticed and didn't say anything. Either way, Michelle stepped in with this confidence that felt reassuring at first. She scheduled appointments. Talked to the bank, said she'd handle the boring parts. "You already do enough," she said. "Let me take care of this." Dorothy trusted her. Michelle was family. She was warm, attentive, seemed capable. When Michelle brought documents for Mom to sign, Dorothy didn't question them. She was tired. She was recovering. She assumed good intentions. I did too. The first warning sign came months later when Michelle mentioned she'd been reorganizing Dorothy's accounts. I asked what she meant. She waved it off. "Just housekeeping. You don't need to worry." But worry is hard to turn off once you've learned how to do my job. After Dorothy's funeral, our house filled up with the usual stuff. Casseroles, sympathy cards, conversations that never quite got to the point. Michelle took charge of everything. She coordinated with the funeral home, handled phone calls, thanked people on my behalf. 3 weeks later, the petition arrived by courier. Thick envelope, my full name typed on the front. I sat in my car in the driveway for several minutes before opening it, watching rain hit the windshield. When I read financial incapacity, emergency conservatorship, it felt like I was reading about someone else. Michelle was asking the court to make her my temporary financial guardian. Not because I'd made bad decisions or lost money, but because she claimed I couldn't recognize when people were ripping me off. The irony wasn't lost on me. Within days, my accounts were frozen. My employer put me on administrative leave for caution. No accusations, no explanations, just suspension. 20 years of steady work reduced to a waiting period. Sarah stopped returning my calls. Oliver sent one text. "Mom says you need help." That night, I slept on the couch. Michelle didn't ask me to, she didn't need to. The next morning, I opened my laptop and started where I always start with records. I didn't confront Michelle, didn't call family members to defend myself. I pulled bank statements, requested transaction histories, built a timeline. Here's the thing about patterns. They don't announce themselves. They reveal themselves slowly, if you're patient. It took most of the day before I noticed the alignment. Small withdrawals, consulting fees, transfers just under reporting thresholds, all clustered around specific dates when Michelle had visited my mother alone. I highlighted them, cross-referenced them, built a spreadsheet. By the end of the week, I'd identified multiple transactions totaling $89,500 that didn't match any documented expense. When I asked Michelle about one of them, real casual, she smiled. "Don't worry about it. I've got it under control." That was the moment something shifted. Not anger, not betrayal. Recognition. Michelle didn't see herself as stealing. She saw herself as fixing an imbalance. She believed she deserved control because she'd carried us for years. and she believed, truly believed, that I'd never notice. That belief was the most dangerous thing she brought into court. Because once someone mistakes your silence for stupidity, they get careless, and Michelle had built her entire case on the assumption that I was an idiot. I didn't go back to my mother's house right away. For days after the petition arrived, I stayed home, moving through rooms that suddenly felt temporary. Michelle was careful during that time, not kind, careful. She spoke slowly, like volume might trigger something fragile in me. She reminded me of appointments I didn't have, offered to handle things I hadn't asked her to touch. She was building a record, so I waited. When I finally drove to Dorothy's house, it was a gray Thursday morning. The kind of Michigan gray that flattens everything, makes colors disappear. The neighborhood hadn't changed. Same brick houses, same hedges trimmed just enough. Same sidewalks my mother used to sweep every Saturday. I parked in the driveway and sat there longer than necessary. The house didn't look like a crime scene. It looked like a life interrupted. I let myself in. The air smelled like lavender and old books. Dorothy's smell. The living room was tidy but lived in. Her throw blanket folded over the couch arm, stack of library books on the side table, reading glasses upside down, exactly where she always left them. I went straight to the spare bedroom. Dorothy kept her records in a 4-drawer filing cabinet, beige and boring. Utilities, medical, banking, taxes. She labeled everything in neat block letters. After my dad died, she told me, "If something happens to me, you'll know where to look." I opened every drawer. At first, nothing looked wrong. Statements were there. Correspondence, check copies. But after an hour, things started to fray. Envelopes that had been resealed. Statements out of order, gaps where originals should have been. I pulled everything onto the bed and started sorting by date. That's when I found the power of attorney. It wasn't hidden, didn't need to be. It sat in a folder marked legal, filed neatly between older documents. Dorothy's signature was there, real, but shaky in a way that matched the weeks after her stroke. The language was broad, too broad. It gave authority over financial decisions without meaningful limits. But what caught my attention wasn't the scope, it was the timing. The document was signed on a day Dorothy's neurologist had noted increased confusion. Not incompetence, just vulnerability, enough to make consent questionable, enough to make pressure effective. I photographed the document and kept searching. The journal came later. It was tucked between 2 photo albums in the hall closet, a brown leather notebook worn soft at the edges. Dorothy had always liked things that lasted. The first entry was dated 15 months before her death. Michelle called today, said she wanted to help more. Sounded sincere. I want to believe it. The entries started short. Dates, visits, notes about being tired. Michelle bringing groceries, Michelle asking questions about accounts. Then the tone changed. Foggy day. Michelle had papers, said they were to help her talk to the bank. I signed, shouldn't have, too tired to argue. Two weeks later, better day. Looked at papers. Power of attorney. I didn't mean to give that, embarrassed. Don't want to trouble Lucas. The last entry was addressed to me. If you're reading this, something went wrong. I didn't forget who you are. I know what you do. I trusted you to see what I couldn't. I sat on that closet floor for a long time. When I left the house, I took copies of everything. Originals stayed put. Evidence matters more when it hasn't been disturbed. That afternoon, I called Lauren Parker. Lauren didn't get emotional when I told her what I'd found. She asked precise questions. Dates, names, medical context. She listened like investigators listen without interrupting. "This isn't about notary fraud," she said when I finished. "It's about exploitation during vulnerability." "That's worse," I said. "Yes, which is why we have to be careful." She explained how these cases work. Adult Protective Services gets involved. Banks flag irregular activity. Courts look at capacity on a spectrum, not yes or no. Michelle's petition wasn't just aggressive, it was risky. If the court believed Dorothy had been vulnerable, everything Michelle touched would get scrutinized. "What do you want to do?" Lauren asked. I thought about the journal, about my mother's careful handwriting, about how she'd protected herself without confrontation. I want the truth to come out naturally, without me forcing it. Lauren was quiet for a moment. Then we wait, and we prepare. Over the next 2 weeks, I lived exactly within Michelle's expectations. I didn't confront her, didn't accuse her of anything. When her attorney asked questions during the preliminary deposition, I answered simply, no extras, no credentials volunteered. Internal audit consultant, compliance support, risk analysis. Michelle watched the deposition on video. I could see her relax as it went on. She smiled when I kept my answers short, nodded when I didn't explain myself. She thought my restraint meant surrender. Meanwhile, Lauren worked in the background. She requested bank records through proper channels, coordinated with compliance officers who flagged transactions that didn't match their stated purposes. She quietly alerted Adult Protective Services, which triggered a separate review. Not an accusation, an inquiry. By the time the hearing approached, multiple systems were moving on their own. That was important. Truth carries more weight when it doesn't depend on one voice. The night before court, I went back to Dorothy's house one last time. I didn't go inside, just sat in my car along the curb, watching the porch light cast its familiar glow. I thought about how my mother had prepared for this without knowing exactly how it would play out. She hadn't raised her voice, hadn't accused anyone. She'd just left a trail. So that brings us back to court the next morning. When Michelle spoke and Adrian repeated her story, I stayed quiet. When Judge Barnes asked her question and the room went still, I understood we'd reached the point my mother had anticipated. The point where quiet work starts speaking for itself. The courtroom felt different after the judge's question. Not louder, not tense like you'd expect. It felt alert, like the room itself was leaning forward to see which version of reality would hold up. Judge Barnes didn't rush. She adjusted her glasses, glanced at the case file, then looked at Lauren Parker. Ms. Parker, you may proceed. Lauren stood slowly, no drama, no pacing. She put one hand on the table and spoke like she wasn't there to argue, just to clarify. Your Honor, this petition claims that Mr. Mitchell can't recognize financial exploitation. What we intend to show is that the opposite is true, and that the exploitation happened because someone believed he wouldn't notice. She started with bank records. Not all of them, just enough. A simple timeline appeared on the monitor. Dates on the left, transactions on the right. Withdrawals, transfers, payments labeled as administrative support and consulting. Nothing flashy, nothing obviously criminal by itself. These transactions occurred over a 10-month period. Each one matches a visit by Miss Mitchell to Dorothy Mitchell's residence. Not to medical appointments, not to banks, to the residence. Adrian Walsh started to stand. Objection. Overruled, Judge Barnes said without looking up. Proceed. Lauren didn't waste time. Next, the power of attorney. She didn't accuse Michelle of forging it, just laid out the facts. This document was signed on a date when Miss Dorothy Mitchell's neurologist documented increased confusion and reduced executive functioning. Not incompetence. Vulnerability. Judge Barnes leaned forward. In Michigan, capacity isn't yes or no. Consent obtained during vulnerability, especially without independent counsel, requires scrutiny. Michelle crossed her arms tight. Lauren kept going. After this document was signed, Miss Mitchell gained expanded access to Miss Dorothy Mitchell's accounts. That access matches a marked change in spending behavior. She clicked to the next slide. Before this date, Miss Dorothy Mitchell's spending patterns were consistent for over a decade. Utilities, groceries, pharmacy. After we see discretionary withdrawals with no corresponding invoices, no medical billing, no documentation supporting their stated purpose. Adrian objected again, but his voice had lost confidence. Judge Barnes overruled him without looking up. Lauren paused. Your Honor, before we go further, I think context matters. She turned toward me. Mr. Mitchell, can you explain briefly what your role has been professionally for the last 20 years? I stood. I work in corporate fraud investigation and compliance analysis. I help organizations identify irregular financial behavior and system weaknesses. Most of my work happens before anything becomes public. Have you testified in court? The judge asked. Yes, a few times when companies needed to explain findings. Not often. Judge Barnes nodded. She turned back to Adrian. Counselor, was this background included in your assessment of Mr. Mitchell's capacity? Adrian hesitated. We understood his role to be limited. That appears to be an assumption. Judge Barnes said evenly. Michelle stood up fast. He doesn't like attention. He hides behind spreadsheets. That doesn't make him competent. Judge Barnes raised her hand. Ms. Mitchell, sit down. Michelle didn't argue, but her jaw was tight. Lauren resumed. She didn't show the journal yet. Instead, she presented a summary from Adult Protective Services, not a conclusion, an inquiry. APIS has been notified. A preliminary review has begun. Banks have flagged irregularities on their own. This court was asked to intervene because Ms. Mitchell claimed her husband couldn't recognize exploitation, yet multiple institutions recognized it without his prompting. The judge's expression changed. Ms. Parker, are you saying this petition itself triggered a broader review? Yes, Your Honor. And that review is ongoing. The room went quiet again, but heavier this time. Judge Barnes folded her hands. Ms. Mitchell, you requested emergency authority over your husband's finances. Based on what I've heard, that request appears premature. Michelle opened her mouth, then closed it. I'm denying the petition with prejudice. She paused. And given the evidence presented and the independent inquiries now underway, I'm referring this matter to the district attorney for further review. The words landed soft, but they landed. Michelle's shoulders dropped, not in shame, but in calculation. She'd lost control of the timeline. Judge Barnes looked at me again. Mr. Mitchell, you were right to stay silent. I nodded once. When the gavel came down, I didn't feel triumphant, just aligned, like something crooked had finally been straightened. Outside the courtroom, Lauren walked beside me. This part's over. The next part won't be. I knew that. When systems start moving, they rarely stop at the first truth they find. The investigation that followed took 4 months. Not dramatic, just methodical. Adult Protective Services finished their assessment. The district attorney reviewed evidence. Banks provided records. Michelle was charged with financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult and fraudulent documentation. She fought it at first, hired a different lawyer, claimed everything was a misunderstanding, that Dorothy had wanted her to handle things, that I was manipulating the system to get revenge. But the paper trail didn't care about her explanations. Numbers don't lie and patterns don't disappear because someone wishes they would. The plea negotiations took weeks. Michelle rejected the first offer, then the second. She insisted on explanations that contradicted the evidence, blamed stress, blamed our marriage, blamed me. But eventually, the documentation closed all her exits. The transfers, the intermediary, Nicole Foster, the timing, the power of attorney signed when Dorothy was documented as vulnerable, the absence of independent counsel, the inconsistencies Michelle couldn't explain away anymore. She accepted a plea to a Class 2 felony. 18 months in minimum security prison, full restitution of $89,500 plus interest, 5 years probation after release, and permanent prohibition from acting as anyone's financial guardian or fiduciary. To satisfy restitution, Michelle had to liquidate assets, including a property she'd bought quietly the year before under a trust name she could no longer justify. I wasn't in court when the judge accepted the plea. Lauren was. She called me afterward. It's done. I sat at our kitchen table and let that settle. It didn't feel like winning. It felt like something heavy finally being put where it belonged. The consequences spread outward. My employer brought me back, but not immediately. There was a probationary period, additional disclosures, quiet monitoring. No punishment, just caution. Some systems forgive slowly. I accepted it. Sarah took longer to come around. She'd spent months caught between her mother's story and growing evidence that something was wrong. When the plea was announced, she called me crying. Not sad, crying, angry, crying. Why didn't you tell us what was happening? Because you needed to see it for yourselves, I said. If I'd accused your mother without proof, what would you have thought? She was quiet for a long time. That you were trying to hurt her. Right. The truth had to come from somewhere else. Oliver handled it differently. He'd been torn between loyalty to his mother and growing suspicions that she wasn't telling the whole story. When everything came out, he felt guilty for doubting me, then guilty for not doubting her more. We had dinner a few weeks after the sentencing. Just the two of us at a diner near his apartment. I should have known, he said, picking at his fries. You were being a good son, I told him. That's what you were supposed to do, but you're my dad. I should have trusted you. You did trust me. You just didn't have all the information. There's a difference. He looked up at me. Are you and Mom getting divorced? Probably. Would that bother you? He thought about it. Not as much as I thought it would. Sarah started therapy, then asked if I'd come to a session with her. I did. We talked about trust, about family loyalty. about how sometimes protecting people means letting them see difficult truths instead of shielding them from reality. The therapist said something that stuck with me. Honesty isn't always kind in the moment, but it's the most loving thing you can offer long-term. Michelle sent letters from prison. Short ones at first, still no apology, just complaints shaped like self-defense. How the system was unfair, how I'd turned everyone against her, how she'd only been trying to help. I didn't respond. Some conversations don't need closure, they need distance. 6 months after the case closed, I got a letter from the court clerk. Confirmation that restitution had been completed, that Dorothy's estate was officially settled. That chapter sealed. I thought about going back to work like nothing had happened, but something had shifted. Not just in how other people saw me, but in how I saw myself. I'd spent years believing that keeping quiet was the same as keeping peace. That avoiding conflict meant avoiding problems. But conflict had found me anyway, and when it did, staying quiet had actually been the loudest thing I could do. My reputation in the corporate world changed too. Word gets around in my field. Companies started reaching out directly, asking for my help with internal investigations, not because of the publicity, but because of how I'd handled the situation. Methodically, quietly, effectively. Turns out there's value in someone who can see patterns without making noise about it. A year later, I moved out of the house Michelle and I had shared. Not because I was angry, but because it felt like time. Sarah helped me pack. We found old photos, wedding pictures where Michelle and I looked genuinely happy. Before the parallel tracks, before the assumptions, before the silence became a weapon. "Do you miss her?" Sarah asked, holding a picture of our family from when she and Oliver were kids. "I miss who she used to be," I said. "Or who I thought she was." "That's not the same thing." "No, it's not. These days, I live in a smaller place closer to downtown Detroit. The neighborhood's different, but I like the change. I cook dinner for myself most nights. Read books Dorothy would have recommended. Visit her grave every few weeks, usually on Sundays, the day she used to balance her checkbook. I tell her about Sarah's job, Oliver's girlfriend, cases I'm working on. Sometimes I thank her for the journal, for leaving a trail when she could have just hoped for the best. But mostly I just sit there, grateful that she knew me well enough to trust that I wouldn't look away when it mattered. The word useless doesn't sting anymore. If anything, it makes me smile, because being underestimated turned out to be the most useful thing that ever happened to me. Michelle thought my quiet made me invisible. She forgot that invisible people see everything, and everything they see, they remember. Paper is memory. Like Dorothy said, and memory, it turns out, is justice taking its time. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is absolutely nothing, because silence forces other people to fill the space, and when they do, they often reveal more than they intended. Being called useless by someone who needs you to be useless isn't an insult, it's intelligence, and the smartest move is to let them keep believing it until the moment it destroys them.